Welcome back. This is a video at project house number one, and today we're going to be tearing off the front porch. And if you just want to see kind of it falling down in that part, you can fast forward to the last 4 minutes, starting about 8 minutes 30 seconds. That's going to be all the tear down. And in the meantime, we'll go over the process of how we got there. So starting out, we're just going to do a little walk around. As you can see, there's some trees and bushes. A couple of the bushes already got pulled out, but there's some trees growing through it, and it's just in bad shape. That's why it's coming off of here. I don't know if you can tell, but usually they would have these joists running perpendicular to the house. In this case, they have them running parallel with really no support besides in the middle. There's a 2x6 that goes from the house to that concrete pillar, and that's what these are toenailed into. So it was pretty impressive that it stayed standing as long as it did, and really it's in as good a shape as it was because it's really not a whole lot holding it up. It's just a 2x6 running right down the middle, perpendicular to the house, and then the joists are running parallel, just toenailed into that 2x6. You can see all these trees. We're going to cut those out in a minute and get started, but then if you look in here, it's hard to tell in the video, but the floor is really wavy and sagging a lot, and it's just not in good shape. So that's why this is coming off. We're going to rebuild it again, make it look a lot nicer, and be a lot more permanent solution. So now for the next minute or so, I'm going to work on just clearing the brush around and getting it ready to start on the demolition. So for this, I just use my sawzall to chop down all these tree limbs, etc., get them out of the way. This had been obviously neglected for a number of years to get to this point to where there's just brush and trees growing right through the front porch. It actually may have helped sturdy it up a little bit, who knows. Now that we got this side clear off, I'm going to start ripping the siding off, because my goal here is eventually we're going to obviously knock the whole thing over, and I wanted to get the windows off as well as get it detached from the house before doing so to avoid causing any damage, unnecessary damage to the house. And I also didn't want a lot of glass in the yard because I got dogs that run around and stuff, so I tried to get as much of that out as possible. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get the front windows out because they were big and glued in, and I didn't see any safe way to get them out without building a temporary wall on the inside to support the structure in the meantime, and I really didn't want to do that. Now, as you can see, the siding's coming off, and these side windows, I was able to get them out, just removing the siding and trim around them, and then there's just a couple number of screws holding them in, so I'll get the drill, pull those screws out, and then I really need to get a pair of work pants or something so I can just clip my saw or drill to my pants and I'll have to keep going back up and down the ladder. But I got these unscrewed. I saw I missed a couple screws in the top here, so I came up, took those top couple screws out, and then this window will just pull right out. And these windows are actually the side windows. They were like the back porch. They're aluminum single pane windows, but they're in really good shape. Didn't have any damage to them. Even had the screens. Now I'm going to work on getting these trees cut off the front of the house and then around the side of the porch, and it all goes pretty easy. Sawzall cutting through them like butter, and it was a lot smaller, so I feel like it's a better choice to use here than the chainsaw. And then later on I use the Sawzall and chop these up even more to get them in a more smaller, reasonable pile to move and eventually probably burn. But I'm just pulling them all off here, and then I'm going to go on the inside, take a look around there, and that's when I eventually discover the windows can't really come out. There's Nashville, the little helper dog. He's busy working, looking for something. So now on the inside, taking this paneling off, and it's coming nicely. And then once I get the paneling off, I'll take the trim on the inside of the window off, and then that's when I realize, yep, it's just glued right in there, and there's nothing that really can be done to take them out besides cutting those whole frames out. And unfortunately, if I cut the frames out, there'd be nothing holding the front up, and it would just all cave in. So I wasn't able to do that, just had to bite the bullet, and some of the glass got broken. I was actually quite surprised, which if you see later on in the video, that window on the left, it did not shatter when it hit the ground. The two on the right, the one in the middle and the one on the right, those did shatter. But the one on the left, surprisingly, I don't know how it happened, but it did not shatter. So here, I'm just taking that window casing out, and some of them were tighter than others, but they all came out pretty easily. And I was really hoping would be able to pull those windows out, but that just wasn't the case. So that's about as far as I got on the inside, and then went back to chop down some trees. This was the last one. It was the biggest one. I was just taking some branches off, sending Nash away so he doesn't get hit by the tree, because it's going to fall right on the camera. Spoiler alert, but it's coming right down. Boom, there you go. So now this is another day, and I'm just going to work on pulling the siding off, because I just wanted to take a look one last time if there's any way I could see if they could get the windows out, possibly it'd come out from the front, and ultimately I decided that was not possible without breaking them, so they just ultimately came down. And then you'll see in a minute, I cut along the sides of the porch in the house to detach it, and then I ran a circular saw on this part I'm standing on close by the house to detach it there, and cut the roof with a sawzall a couple inches in, so it was pretty well fully detached. So I opened this up here so I could see what I was working with, and I found out hitting it with the axe really didn't work as good as just pushing that axe up in there and pulling down. It would kind of yank. Eventually I'd be able to yank whole pieces out with it, and then I could get a good view of what was in there, what was going on, etc. But you're see in a minute, the part holding the ceiling up, those are the only part we didn't cut, they were just toenailed in. It just solves all that beam. So then, essentially, there was nothing holding it on besides a couple toenails, so it just caves in on itself, which you see here. And I'm going to put some background music now, and you can just take a look and watch the demolition. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and we'll see you on the next one.